Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett. We just finished a different video, and it's so funny how weird your brain can get like kind of confused because in the video I launch a notepad that ended up having some financial information. It wasn't really like nothing that I don't think anything that someone could use to hack me or get any information. It just had like balances and stuff like that, and nothing particularly crazy. I'm not like ultra wealthy or destitute or anything like that. I'm somewhere in the middle. But I turned off my webcam so that you couldn't see my notepad pop up. I have no idea why I got that. Where I got that idea that would protect me. But um, so I had noticed for a while there that YouTube has like a like you can edit within YouTube, and so I took like about a minute and I just made it the middle of it blurry. Um, so I'm hoping that protects the the I'm hoping that protects that 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 you can't see that stuff pop up. Um, Now, whoever you are, I probably don't have any problem with you saying it. But the thing is like, who knows? Like, there might be someone. Like, if hardly anybody, as you can see, most of my videos only get like less than like 23 is a huge number for me, right? So if that's 23 people, then I think it's very unlikely that anybody that isn't just a good, trusting, worthy, beautiful person. Um, I'm sure all 23 of these people would be. But like if 1,000 people looked at it, there'd probably be one bad person in there. And that one bad person, if they got that information, may be able to use it in some sort of weird way that I can't kind of conceive of yet. So I blurred that out. But the thing is it takes it when you use the tool, it takes it a long time to process. Normally, it like takes it like less than 5 minutes to process, but now it's saying it it's like 50 minutes left, and I started the processing like 8 or 9 minutes ago. And so I have the visibility set to private. Um, and so at the moment, only people that I choose can see it. As soon as that processing is done, I'll watch the video again and see that, just validate that sort of sensitive information doesn't end up bleeding through, and then make it public, which may make things a little weird. Don't know. Don't know if it will. Don't know if it won't. But I am kind of glad that this happened because I can show you that I have achieved 400 subscribers. So that's pretty cool. Now, what's really crazy is so I have my wife, I manage my wife's YouTube as well. And she has 45,000 followers on TikTok. And she, she seems, our accounts kind of started around the same time. She sort of neglected her account for like a couple years, and so did I. And then I've kind of been actively doing my account for a few years now. And we kind of started actively keeping her account up basically when the first time TikTok got shut down. And it's crazy how we have the same number of subscribers all the time. And I kind of started to pull away. I had like 397 subscribers when she had like 360. And then, but now I am back up to, but now she's at 399 as of yesterday. But see, in the last 28 days, I only added 14, but she added like 27 or something, 20, maybe I think it was more than one a day. So I think that there's some sort of algorithm that sort of, like, when you hit one of these, like this 400 users, as you could tell, like I have 400 subscribers, but if you look at my content on a really like the best of the best of the best, I get like 23 people looking. Oh, here was a 32. 32. Like, so it's definitely not. I suspect 400 subscribers matches has certain meaning to it, and my guess is that meaning is this 400 probably is something to do with like the big number here is probably something to do with like if it's 4 digits it probably means something, and then if it's this probably has more to do with time than that, and then because they seem to be actively working to try to kind of, and it's not like whatever they're doing seems to be keeping me and my wife in sync, even though we have completely different profiles and completely different um, like the majority of people who watch her videos are female. The majority of people who watch my videos are male. Almost everybody that watches her videos is on a phone, whereas almost everybody that watches my videos is on a computer. Right? We have completely, but yet our numbers seem to kind of track with each other. So I think that this is encoded with more information, and I don't think there's 400 people that care about my content. I think there's probably like 7 people. So I don't think this 400 means what they imply. Now let's go to the analytics. This is my favorite part. And then this is always so interesting to me because like my watch time is so much higher than my wife's watch time, but my views are so much smaller than hers. And that's because the majority of her videos are like 14 seconds long. Um, but audience is to me, the fun one. It's just fun to think about. Like, so as you see, like in the last 28 days, 55% of the people were using computers, and then 29% was mobile phones. So when I really started growing really fast, like for me, like when I pulled away from my wife, the mobile phone was like 80% for that 7 days. But um, over time, computers had been almost everything, and so now like and I don't know what I think computers are probably coming back up because I've slowed down. Yeah, see, so mobile phones had overtaken computers for me, but now mobile phones has dropped. Now what's interesting is TV has really popped up, and I that's my favorite way to consume this kind of data is on my TV or this kind of information. So that's interesting. So basically, in the last 7 days, about 10% of the people, which is probably more. I don't know. I don't know what this really means because it only adds up to less than like less than 15%, I think, or yeah, like 17%. Obviously, there's 83% more. So I don't know if this means that 83% of the of the entities that consume my content are computers or AIs. Like that is probably what that means. Um, I know that like I've seen statistics that like 95% of all content on the web is created by AIs, and like 95% of all content consumed is consumed by AIs. So like humans are not heavily don't heavily create or consume information on the web. The vast majority of the web, we are a small minority. Us human beings are a teeny tiny minority of what's creating and consuming content. And I have like been at places like where there's a lot of technical people, and I overhear people talking, and I've heard people say like, man, my video, I paid like $1,000 to get like views, and I got like 20 million views, and I didn't make a single sale off of 20 million views. And it was like, yeah, because probably not a single human being actually saw your content. Um, so, and that's like sort of a weird thing to think about. But anyway, so in the last 7 days, majority of people, human beings, okay, so it would be kind of nice if they just broke this down into humans. But it looks like if we assume that like this is the number, this is the percentage of humans that consume my content, and that the other is that then about about 65% of the humans that watched this video or started the video, I guess they count you even if you just start it, about 60% are from India, and about 25% or so, maybe 30% are from Bangladesh, and then about 15% are from the US at this point. It is weird. So there must be other people, because why would. Well, I don't know. I guess somebody who speaks Portuguese could live in any of these countries. Um, but 4.4%. So what was really nice, I don't know though, because see, this is 100%. See, it would be nice if this, like, what percentage of Indian people in India had had subtitles on versus what percent of people in the United States. See, these are probably all from in the U.S. 0.4% had me changed over to had subtitles that were in Portuguese, and then 0.4% had it in Chinese. And again, these people could easily live in the U.S., or they could live in Bangladesh, or they could live in India. So it's hard to know what is going on. Now, it is a little bit different, 30 days. And I think this has more to do with like who they're. So as you see, like if you look at 28 days, my computers goes down, my mobile goes up. I think my TV stayed the same. Let's see, 7 was 13.3, 10. Okay, so my TV, oh no, my TV went way, over 30 days went way down. So like there's been a spike in TV, and tablet for 7 days is 0%, but for 30 days is 1.5%. This is something that like every once in a while I'll believe something. Oh, this is going to be a game changer, and then it ends up being not a game changer at all. And tablets, like I really thought tablets would be the dominant device for consuming content on the internet, and it's pretty crazy because it's only. Now, does this add up to 100? See, this adds up to 100. So I think this may be a strong indicator that a lot of the a lot of the consumers of my content are computers, are AIs. Um, but this could also be like a lot of AIs may act like mobile phones. Um, so that is interesting. Now, there's a lot more geographies in the 30 days, represented in the 30 days, than in the 90 days. But now, see, like if you go to 30 days, then I think, well, let's go back to 7. Oh yeah, see, that is so fascinating. So if you go to, so basically over the last, if what I think is true, a lot more humans looked at much higher percentage of humans looked at my content over the last month than over the last 7 days, and almost all of them are from India, which makes a lot of sense because I think a lot of work is going to India. There's something about the way India is set up and all that that just really lends them to be very, very good at software development in general. I don't know. I have met some just genuinely gifted developers from India that were just like magical. You know, you're like, can you take care of this? They're like, okay. And then they heads down, and then like no one has any idea how they're going to get it done. And then like 12 hours later, or like the next day, midday, they're like, okay, it's done. And you're like, oh crap, holy cow, this all makes sense. And then you read their code, and it's just beautifully formatted. And then I've also met a lot of Indians who are very, very good at QA. But I would say the majority of Indians I've ever met aren't very good coders. But I would say that a much higher percentage of Americans that I haven't met aren't very good coders. So, you know, and then who knows if the Indians that are watching are like they're just trying to learn how to manage people that code. They're not actually trying to learn to code. You know, they just want to learn how to manage people. And that, I would say, that Indians are much, much, much better at managing technical resources than Americans. I mean, I've met some Americans that are amazing are truly gifted at managing American resources. So I wouldn't say that it's unheard of, but I found in general most people from India are that are in this industry are better at managing technical people than most Americans I've ever met. Which is such a strange thing because what happens is you get a lot of like H-1Bs that are here and they're supposedly here, and the narrative that is said is that they're here because they're so good at coding and we need coders and all that, but then they're managers and they're in charge of managing. Um, so anyways, so for the last 28 days, um, the vast majority of people are. Uh, so this is interesting because this I think adds up to 100. Yeah. See, so this must not map. This must only be for humans, or it is possible that yeah, yeah. I don't really get this. I don't understand why this can add up to 100, and they can figure out everybody's age and gender, but they can't figure out everybody's geography. And I will say that because, like, if you go to the 7 days, there's only 3 countries represented here. So now that is interesting that they don't say they have enough. They have enough information to determine geographies, but they don't have enough information to determine age and gender. But anyway, so 96.6% are male. If you look at the last 28 days, I bet you if you look at the last 7 days, oh, there's not enough. That's right. Now, if you look at, like the last 90 days, then we're looking like I had a lot. And there was a little point in time where I had a lot more female people. And let's go to lifetime. So I don't know. Somebody must be these numbers. I think have been manipulated. I guess it's like, oh, big surprise. But the reason I think these numbers have been manipulated is because for the vast majority of the time that I've been looking at this, it was 100% male. So I can see how like a lot more female people are watching, but it shouldn't been enough. It shouldn't have been enough to start to change things on this lifetime, which I guess is May 31st, 2000. So 11 years for the last 11 years. Um, and then for many, much time, most of the time, like literally 100% were in this 25 to 35. And then I started seeing a few of these because I think some of these people, like over the time, sort of aged in here. And then, yeah, there's very few people. And then this is my age group, 0 people. And then, but now if we go to 28 days, because 7 days doesn't have any information. Yeah, see, we're at 0. A few people in here and some people up in here. So anyway, so now let's go see what's going on with the content and see if that's still. Um, so it's private. It doesn't say it's processing anymore. So I guess I can change it to public. Kind of want to wait till I watch it, but I'm just going to change it to public. All right. So supposedly there's a couple minutes in here. There's like a minute in here that where the middle of my screen is blurred out. So I'll be interested to see how that works. So I had a thought this morning that I've never had, I don't think, as far as I can ever remember. And my thought was, oh man, I can't wait to unit test this because I'm trying to get, I guess should take another step back. So basically what we've been working on is aspect ratio. So the problem that we had was if I would go like this, add a visualization, and then if I would change the view and then I would go in to update it, this was all distorted. And so we needed to add some code to make this to. So basically, there's a thing called an aspect ratio, and see, this is wider than it is tall. But in our other views, it's the actual thing is the same. The actual DOM element that's holding it is one by one. Is a one. It's the same height as width. But then when we go to this view here, it it it's wider than taller. So then this guy got like wider and shorter because they have this concept called an aspect ratio. So aspect ratio is really weird in that it's very unusual in that um, you can't really determine what the proper aspect ratio is until you have the container. But everything else in and that's part of that's some it's a property of the camera, but everything else is you don't need to know. Like other things that the camera needs to know is like, okay, anything closer than so far should be invisible. Anything farther than so far should be invisible. Like you, that doesn't matter what the size of the element is. Uh, there's how much aperture, like how much the size that you're looking at. There's all kinds of things, right, that you can set up, and none of them matter. None of them care about anything about runtime except for the aspect ratio. So when I set it all up, I set it up to where I set up my camera, and then my camera has everything set up. And then I ran into problems when I came to this, and I knew it was going to be a problem because I remember running into this problem before. But then it was just kind of like so easy to be like, since I'm new, or since I'm not, since I've been doing this for a while, before when I was new, to be like, oh, okay, this is just one of those funny little one-offs. Let's just write some little custom side code here on the side to take care of this and just move on with our lives. The problem was, is in my last application, everything became custom side code because ThreeJS is riddled with inconsistencies because I think ThreeJS is a results first API. Like they're just like, oh, we want to set things up so that you get the best results, not so that you end up with like the best architecture. But the problem is it's very difficult to scale things on that. So it's really easy to build like oh, okay, I want a spotlight on a this on a that with this kind of light there and that kind of light there and all that, and you can write something like that, and that's pretty straightforward. But it's difficult to scale up like a big application because it's got all these inconsistencies all through it. So you end up with just what you call spaghetti code. You just code that it's just got all kinds of weird things and strange side effects and when you make changes and stuff like that. One of my favorite examples was like right now we have a camera, and the camera, if we want, like, let's say this was moving around, but we wanted the camera to stay on this one, but like, let's say there was fixed things in the back. So we wanted this sort of view of the camera just sort of following this thing around. Well, we have to manage that. But there's another thing called a spotlight, and the spotlight has the ability to track to a specific to a spot, to a thing that's moving. It's just different the way you do those two things. So whoever the best thing for spotlight was to be able to track things, but the best thing for camera was not. Best thing for camera was to hold still and let things move around or whatever. So it's just kind of like one of those things where the best thing for the actual concept is what they coded, not the best thing for people who are trying to maintain software. Um, so I think that's probably the reason why ThreeJS is very, very popular, is because it's pretty easy to build really cool stuff very quickly with it. Um, and that's really 90% of people, that's all they want. They're not trying to build some framework to do 3GS stuff. So that is the reality of that. But as I kind of built this out, this time, since I'm coming through again, I know I don't want just some random one-off that I don't care about and move on with life. For example, like in the other application I'm working on that I just put up there, like I put a class, I just created a styling rule, a CSS styling rule for H1s. The only reason I did that is because I'm at the end of that application. I know that there's not going to, I don't need to grow anymore. I know it's all built out and I'm just finishing things up. But I would never do that at the beginning of a project because you don't want to alter the H1 things. You want to, you typically want to style things for that whatever you're styling, unless you want all H1s to be different. Um, but that's a thought that you have to have and you have to think through. You don't have to do that here. But anyway, so I was like, man, I can't wait to do the unit test for this because once I do the unit test, that'll give me a better chance to just really understand how all these things fit together. I don't quite have that. Anyway, so at the end of yesterday, I was like, I want to make this a function, these two lines to be in a function. And I think what I want these two lines is I want to pass in the ST renderer ID, the width and the height. And then I want it to get the renderer just like we do here. And then it to update this stuff in itself. So I want it to be very, very self thing. It won't be pure because I need a renderer ID. I mean, I need the dictionary to be populated ahead of time, but I think that's what I want. Because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be other situations where I want to change the camera aspect ratio, like basically during um, animations, mostly because for resize. Like if you drag this shut, there's going to have to be some other code that's probably outside of this renderer service that's going to need to be able to change that. So I want to expose a function that does that and use that function here, and then hopefully in that other place I will be able to call it directly. So basically this is what I want. I want to do update aspect ratio by ID. And I want to return a Boolean. And basically I want to return true if it successfully found and updated something, and false if it didn't. So let updated equals false. So I'm just going to assume that we didn't, oh my gosh, we didn't actually change anything. Now, one of the things is to keep in mind is that I am doing this, probably the thing that's driving me to even set this thing up, like, is the unit tests. Like, I probably would just call the function and let it change. But in the unit test, it's so much easier to write a unit test when you have a result. So anyways, we want the ST renderer ID, and we want the width, and that's going to be a number. Want the width, and that's going to be a number. And we want the height. And that's going to be a number. So I am definitely violating one of my sort of rules that I really try to stick to, and that's I try to make these pure functions. So technically what I probably would rather do, like if I could, I would rather pass in the 3 camera and do it with, so that I could pass in the 3 camera and that updates it. But I'm 99% sure that I am going to need to hit this thing from outside of this service. And since I need to do that, it's going to find, what am I trying to say? So, since I need to do that, I really can't be pure unless I want, because what I don't want to do, I mean, I could make it pure by having another function that just returns the renderer. And I do have this, get renderer by ID. Maybe that's what I want to do. because I could get the render by ID. I could also have a get camera by render ID function. And so whatever calls it could do that. Or I could give a renderer ID and it update it that way. And I think that this is going to be the most easy to sort of understand. And that is the thing that I want to do is I want to make that's like sort of the number one thing I'm thinking about right now is I want it when in the future I want to have when I'm working on this resizing thing I don't want to have to think about how the camera works and stuff like that. I just want to say, hey, for this renderer ID, can you fix the aspect ratio? That's all I want. Um, and I don't want to be like, okay, what does an aspect ratio do? What is it? How does it work? I just want it to fix it. Um, so basically, we know that we're going to get either an ST renderer or an undefined. I think it's going to be undefined. And I don't know. I'm 90% sure. And, you know, in the past, I just would have gone with it because I feel like I know it but well enough. But um, since there's such an easy way to check, there's no reason not to check. Like the amount of effort to check is so low because literally I can just ask ChatGPT, what would this return if the dictionary existed, but the ID does not? Undefined. That's what I thought. Okay. Okay. So, okay. And I guess I could just paste this in here. And this is something I never ever do at work. I would definitely strongly suggest you don't do this work. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay. So now, basically, oh my gosh, silly rabbit. Okay. So we want to say that if st render, so if we got something back, then we want to do this, and we want to do this. And I'm going to assume that there's a 3 camera. That may not always work, but for now, I can't see why it wouldn't work, but it is technically possible that since the camera is not required, and I guess what I can do is, let's do this. I guess I can be even a little bit more safe by checking to see that the camera exists. And so here's what you have to think to yourself is like, or here's what I always think to myself on this. Like, would I rather it crash and burn if there was no camera here? Or would I rather it just return a false? And I guess I'd rather it return a false if the camera doesn't exist. The problem is that, is it because the renderer no longer existed, or is it because the camera didn't exist? I don't know, but I think I'm just going to go with what I have. So basically now this function does everything. It isn't quite a pure function because it depends on this. It also depends on this. So it's going to be a bit of a pain to unit test, but not too bad. it this way. I think I'd rather do it this way. I don't know why. I really don't. But my instincts are telling me what I should do is this. I wonder why it's got the underline there. Oh, because... Okay. Okay, so I want to get the camera. Let's do this. So now I'm in pure unit test mindset, right? Like, okay, I don't want to set up like some complex set of cases because it will be very difficult to unit test that. So, and so here we are back to this. Okay. So get camera, 3 camera. And it's going to get a ST renderer or undefined. Which is an ST renderer. Or it could possibly get an undefined. Okay, so I'd rather deal with this here. And it's going to return a 3 perspective camera. And I guess, or it might return an undefined. Undefined. This is a little new for me. And then we're going to say let camera equal I'm sorry, wrong notation there, equal, and then so we're just defining it as either undefined, and then we're going to return it and turn our camera. And so now this guy, we are going to change this to, and I cannot believe how much of this code, which I think is so nice, it's very clean, is directly a result of just my mindset changing from because of unit tests. So I, at this moment, am a big fan of unit tests. Does that mean that in an hour I'll be a big fan of a unit test? No, not at all. Right now, that is like a concept that just bounces back and forth in my head. So, because I really have to acknowledge that I think this is much cleaner code than what I had before, and so I think we also need to make updated equals true. So if we found a renderer, we found a camera, then updated is true. Now we want to return. All right, so camera, and that is equal to stRenderer dot. What is it? What is going on here? What we got going on? We're supposed to have, it's not an ST camera, it's our 3 camera, right? Camera, ST render, oh, ST camera. Okay, so the ST camera has a 3 camera. And then it's upset because ST renderer may be null. So that was this. So then I guess we don't even need this. All we need, And I don't. I think this is useful to get rid of that. To just make this a one-liner. And I don't know what the implications of this is, but it's either going to return an undefined or it's going to return a 3 camera. And apparently a 3 camera is required. Is it required field? I don't think so. So I think what we want is that. So behind the scenes, it just created a whole bunch of crazy branches. And I don't know if like to unit test if I'm going to need to send in like an ST renderer that, or send in an undefined and then send in an ST renderer, but it's just like an object that doesn't have an SD camera, and then another one that has an SD camera but doesn't have a 3 camera, and then another one that has a 3 camera. Maybe I'll have to write like unit tests around that. But anyways, so now this thing takes my height and width and attaches and updates the aspect ratio and then updates the project matrix. And that was like oh man, that's like another thing. This is sort of an architectural gap for me because I don't really want to interact directly with ThreeJS in on the ST side. I want that to be on the 3 side. There's services on the 3 side, so I think this needs to be now, does this thing already... I know I'm having some issues with like cyclic redundancy or these things feeding back. And there is, I actually like one of my favorite emails that I get every week is from this guy named Elaine Sherrard or something like that. And he writes about Angular, and he was talking about an app that you can add that will give you a drawing of your dependencies and all that. And that would probably be incredibly useful for me because I got some kind of problem. And this problem is a result of sort of how my brain is sort of fixated around solving little problems, breadcrumbs to fix things. And now I don't understand how everything's connected together. So there's something that would be nice if I could clean up. But do I have access to the 3? Okay, so I do have the 3 renderer service accessed here. So I could add a function to the 3 renderer service. Do I have anything else? I don't have anything else on the 3. Now, from the 3 renderer service, I probably don't actually want to do it. It probably has access to the 3 camera service. Here, let's go over there. Go to definition. But see, so now we are living in the 3 world. And so this, at the very least, we would want to update the aspect ratio of the camera here. But I think what we really want to do is, see, we have a camera service. And this is where we're going to want to add that function. And I'm like, I got a kind of an icky feeling right now because it's just like, man, am I making this unnecessarily complex? And I don't think I am. I think there is value in completely knowing that I don't interact with the 3 on this side. Like this side is supposed to be pure. Everything's supposed to make sense over here. Pure isn't the right word. Everything is supposed to make sense. Over here is where we have the code that deals with any weirdnesses. and that are three. So basically, I really want the ST side just to be like unaware of what's going on with three. So what it seems like what I want is either I would like to inject the camera service directly into here where I pass it a camera and um, the width and the height, and it sets up the aspect ratio and updates the matrix. Um, so that is, I guess that is the question: is can I inject this stuff? And like, it's kind of funny because like, I've always had problems with trying to picture where things are in like where they live architecturally. That's always been a challenge for me. And but I would never realize that I had a big blind spot, and that the big blind spot is because of the language that I speak. And now that there's like a whole different way of looking at things, and that whole different way, um, like now I realize that I've done something wrong in this code, and that whole different way is like something that I want to get good at. So, anyways, so I'm curious if I can bring the camera service into the ST render service, I believe. Yeah, the render service. Kind of wish. No. Oh, I'm in three right now. Am I already in three? No. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if what I want to do is make it where the ST renderer service calls the three renderer service, and then the three renderer service calls the camera service, or if I want the three renderer service, I mean the ST renderer service to call the three camera service directly. I feel like I want it to call the three camera service directly. I don't see what value this extra layer of abstraction does for us, but we'll see. We'll see. So, render service. Man, I hate the fact that I didn't make this three render service now. And I'm sure I went back and forth on that. Um, I don't know why these are private, but okay. Um, Man, I wish I'd have named that three camera service. That is definitely not something that is bothering me to the point where I would like restart this application or go through a big crazy refactor. But um, like in the future, if I ever do restart, I hope I can remember that I would like this to have the word. At the very least, I would like this to have the word three. Okay, so I can just. It doesn't seem to break anything. I don't seem to have any sort of cyclical reference that breaks things. Now, I do know that those cyclical references that break things, actually, I forgot, they never get caught in this. I believe there's a flag that you can call that it will actually catch these, but they never get caught here. They get caught in runtime. So let's see we, if anything broke in the runtime. Okay, so nothing seems to be broken in the runtime. We're not using it yet though. But basically what I want in here is I want this code functionally, I want this code to happen in the three service. Now that's not okay. So what I can do is I can say And I guess it makes sense. Okay, I'm just going to take this whole thing and I'm going to copy it over to camera service that's in 3. Okay, so this was the code that I did a second ago. Set aspect ratio. I think that makes sense. And then basically it's going to get a camera, which is a 3 perspective camera. 3 dot perspective camera. And a width, which is a number, and a height, which is a number. And then I don't think we should call it a 3 camera. I think we should just call it a camera because we are in the 3 world. Now, that could be the reason that I didn't name it 3 camera, because I was like, or 3 service. And now I'm regretting it, and I might end up going like, why didn't I name this 3 camera? But maybe it's good for my brain. All right, like it's like, okay, stress, like, yes, it's going to be a little confusing, but like that's something I want to develop in my brain, is this sort of spatial recognition that I'm missing right now. Now, but there is no spatial recognition to be had over here, right? ST camera service. ST renderer service. All right, so basically over here now we want to leave this updated true, but we want it to be camera service. And I guess there's no reason this dot. Yeah, I would rather this read this dot 3 camera service. And then let's go over here, dot. Okay, I want to rename this up here to 3 camera service. And this is like something I'm trying out, right? Like I'm not 100% sure this is what I want to do, but I think it makes sense. Set aspect ratio. See, I feel like that reads so nice, right? Like it's very clear what I'm doing there. And then I'm going to send it a 3 camera, which matters now. And I'm going to send it my width. And I'm going to send it my height. And then I'm going to set updated to true, and then I'm going to return. And then I'm going to go check to see if it still works. And it still seems to work even though I'm not using any of it yet. You know, so that didn't really prove anything. But now I want to call this. I guess I don't want to delete that yet. Okay, so this will break it. It's always good to break it, because then you know you actually fixed it. If you don't break it, then like you can't really be sure that you fixed it. Okay, so it's broken. And now dot set update camera service, update aspect ratio by ID. So we're in ST, so it should be trivial to my brain to understand that I'm dealing with ST stuff right now. And then I want to send it my ST renderer ID, my width, Okay, offset width. And it's nice because like this is the only place that knows about the element. So like once we get to this point, it doesn't know what the element is. All it knows is the renderer ID, the width, and the height. So when I call from outside and this is resizing, I should be able to send the width and the height. I should be able to determine the width and height and call this function directly, saying, hey, for this renderer ID, update the width and the height for me. Now, let's see if this works. It would be surprising to me. It wouldn't be shocking to me, but I'm leaning towards it's probably not going to work because I've written quite a bit of code without actually testing any of it. Um, but it wouldn't blow my mind if it works. Okay, yeah, so we fixed it. So that worked. I feel like the architecturally, it's beautiful. I'm so happy with this architecture. Um, Now, do I need, I don't even think I need a 3 camera over here anymore, right? Like he doesn't need a, does he even need, oh, no, he needs a 3 camera because he needs to update this. Now, interestingly enough, we don't, it doesn't, it is kind of weird. Well, we could actually have this camera declaration here. It doesn't matter because we're changing it outside before we try to use it. But anyway, so that is there, that is there, and that is there. So basically, when I do my unit tests, I do want to take a bit of special time to sort of make sure that it all the new code makes sense from a architectural perspective. Um, and I don't even know exactly what all we do in this. Let's see. So in the renderer service, okay, all we have is a log, console log, so we do not need that anymore. And then in my camera service, all we have is a log, so we don't need that any. Oh, nope, wrong. Set aspect ratio camera. Oh, okay, yeah, that's my new ThreeJS camera code. All right, so that's good. Let's see, what do we do over here? I think we do need, okay, so we actually, yeah, we started this whole process. So this is a good change. Maybe we don't need this editor text, but I don't think it's hurting anything right now. App layout. So we don't want any of these console logs. And so like another thing that's interesting to me is that like we've put a lot of thought into um, like aspect ratios and things like that, but that's not even what we're working on. We're working on trying to get edit where we can edit. But this has been a huge rabbit hole that we needed to, huge dragon that we needed to slay along the way. Yeah, that's where we got rid of having that with, and I think we need this. Okay, we definitely don't need this console log. I'm pretty sure we need the width and the height though. I think this is where it's determined. Oh no, so this is what actually sets the width and height. This is not where it's determined. This is where it's set. It's determined on that other one that has the element. And I will say that like now that I realize that I have this huge mental hole around spatial awareness, virtual spatial awareness, architectural spatial awareness. I don't know what you do that. That like I feel like I've really unlocked a key to leveling up my skills in general. And that is like as you get more and more experienced in code, that it gets harder and harder to recognize where you have holes, and it gets more and more difficult to get better. So I'm kind of excited about that. So this is the only thing in here. I'm a little nervous just to hit undo because I almost undid my camera work. And that would not be the first time that I just like saw a console log, did a big undo, and lost useful work. Okay, what is this size? I don't think I'm using size. I think that must have been for some sort of example. Are you okay, Daisy? You doing okay? I don't know if she'll want me to pick her up. This is my little dog. This is Daisy. Do you see yourself in there, Daisy? All right. She gets nervous. I don't know why she's such a bundle of nerves. I think it's just sort of built into her breed. They're just sort of like they're sort of designed. They were sort of designed and bred to sort of hang out with big hunting dogs, and that was sort of the biggest reason that I wanted a Jack Russell, because like some dog they always watch out for themselves. They're very hyper vigilant in making sure that they're okay. That is crazy that this all boils down to this one tiny little function in the camera. So at the lowest levels, we have two very simple, very easy to understand lines of code. So with the interaction with the that, and see, that's the other thing is like some things in ThreeJS need like you to call some, and I don't even know if that's necessary. So because let's try that. Let's just try it without that, because ChatGPT has on many occasions given me lines of code that I did not need. Um, so let's just double check that we need this line of code. Yes, we need that line of code. So sometimes you need like a call like this, and who knows what it's doing behind the scenes. And then sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can do an update like this, and sometimes you can't. There's all kinds of crazy inconsistencies that are very, very difficult to wrap your high, or that are like sort of like spaghetti code bait. You know, it's like trying to it's the kind of stuff that just encourages you to build some sort of little side code that then doesn't work. So yeah, so I think this is a great place to do a commit. And for me, it's a great place to do a commit because okay, I'll be able to do my unit tests and I'll be able to kind of put a little bit of thought. I think this makes total sense. I think everything is done in a reasonable place. But that's first, is that everything seems to be done in a reasonable place. Second is the commit is very I mean um, everything's done in a reasonable place. Second, this is sort of an architectural thing, and I would like to use the unit test to make sure that all the little pieces are right. I wonder if I should. I guess I need to return something here for the unit test. And I do think that unit tests are going to be a little bit difficult. And we're just going to say if camera. See, I don't even think it's possible to, well, it would be very difficult to actually send in not a camera. Let set equals false. Set is equal to true. Set. Okay. So that was a good idea. And that was just genuinely just so that it'd be easier to unit test. Um, just make sure everything still works. All right. So I think this set of code now, yeah, we need to write some unit tests to clean this up. I mean, not to clean it up, just to make sure everything's nice and tight, and then write some end-to-end tests. And honestly, the biggest reason to write end-to-end tests is because like I know exactly what I want, um, and basically like I think my end-to-end, I think I already have an end-to-end test for this view, but I don't. It doesn't actually like check anything. So add like a check that this is in here. I don't think I can really check the aspect ratio. Um, but I could check that there is actually something in there, and maybe something else. Who knows? But yeah, this is a great time to do this. Aspect ratio was really difficult. I think we have a lot more really difficult things ahead of us, um, because um, there's just a lot of little like things that would like this is it's not that big of a deal, right? This is not a very big deal if all you're trying to do is just build like a cool visualization of something. Like who cares? You just it's one line of code. You just add the line of code, you're done. Um, but it is a big deal if the next thing that's kind of like well, it's a big deal because like if we look at the camera itself, like there's four things here, and three of them I don't care about at all, and are super simple and no big deal, and then one of them is like a thing that we have to add some extra side code for. So like we had to. There's no set frustrum, set near, set far. Now we may add that in the future because like we may say, oh, okay, we want to animate. Like that would be pretty cool. Like if like the if you're looking at sort of an animation and then how far you can see slowly starts to appear, you know. I think that would be really cool. Um, but and who knows? Like, can you change? Like, do we maybe we have to destroy the whole camera and create a new camera to change near? Maybe yeah. There's just every one of these things has its own little set of like this is a little side thing. This update projection matrix is a little side thing that you have to do specifically for aspect, as far as I can tell, and there's all kinds of little side things, and that is why this is such a complex, such a challenging project. Um, so, anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.